Doom. It's a game. You've probably heard about it. It needs no introduction, so today we're going to be talking about the betas and the prototypes of Doom. To start off, we're going way back. In the earliest known alpha of Doom, Doom 0.2, it was still known as Doom Evil Unleashed. And it was the first build where the logo looked as if though it was wrapped in aluminium foil. This build barely resembles the full product and is very clearly just intended as a tech demo demonstrating the capabilities and textures for the ceiling and floor, which were new for the time and different between Doom and Wolfenstein 3D. The display resembled the Doom guy's helmet more, with the only weapon available being a very early shotgun. Opening the WAD file in a Doom editor, we can see some unused icons and graphics for weapons such as a knife, a pistol, shotgun, machine gun, probably the one seen in the title screen of Doom 1993, missile launcher, dark claw, which would have drained a demon's life, the prop projectile, which would give stats on enemies, the BFG 2704, obviously the early name of the BFG 9000, and the Unmaker. Despite similar name and demonic appearance, this weapon was apparently not related to the one seen in Doom 64. The Imp seems to have orange eyes, and the pinky is missing the orange stripes on the legs and the bloody teeth. And then we move on to Doom 0.3. Here comes the biggest change between 0.2 and Wolfenstein 3D, which is sectors with different heights. To the actual prototype, it starts really differently. The Doom logo comes spinning at you and stops to a halt to reveal the name. Also, in every prototype, there wasn't a cap for the frame rate, so the game will run up to 70 frames per second. This version also introduces the bayonet, rifle, shotgun, and machine gun. There are 8 levels, 4 of which represent somewhat similar places from the final game, and 4 of which represent nothing. The most clear resemblance is E1M8, which is an almost exact copy of E1M2 of Doom 1. Not much else to this version, so we're moving on. Doom 0.4. This version introduces doors, making their first appearance since Wolfenstein. Jokes aside, in this version the only usable weapons are the bayonet and the rifle. Opening the WAD file in Slade reveals there are also sprites for the machine gun, which is the same as the last build, a shotgun, and a pickup sprite for the chainsaw that is identical to the final version. And there is also a high color mode that will kinda give me a stroke if I look at it any longer. Hidden deep inside the WAD file is also a pickup sprite for the missile launcher and the BFG 2704, both of which also looked wrapped in aluminium foil for Doom Guy to take for his lunch break. And the dark claw makes another appearance, fully textured but sadly scrapped, as we all know. There are also early graphics for the light amplification goggles, power-up vases, demonic artifacts, technological artifacts, a pile of bullets, medikits, armor, ammo, and a vase with a sparkly light. And if we dig even deeper into the files, there is also a very early sprite of the Lost Soul, looking like a generic horned skull, which would have used hit scan attacks and exploded on death. Also unused textures for doors, lights, stairs, ceiling, nukage, walls, and a table with poker cards. All of the levels don't look hellish, rather like a base. One of them even has a marine that looks like he wants to play a game of poker with you. Doom 0.5. This build introduces things like FPS caps, so the game runs at a stable 35 frames per second. It also introduces collisions, so you can actually bump shoulders with your impals, which you can also kill. Unfortunately, when they die, they just vanish, instead of playing their normal death animation, which is present in the game files. The Pinky, on the other hand, does have a death animation, and it's really different from the final version. Difficulties are also present in this version, except for Nightmare. And I'm too young to die is I just want to kill. There is also an intermission screen, which doesn't look half bad. The bayonet, rifle, machine gun, and missile launcher are also present. The bayonet retains its sprite from the last build, however, the rifle and the machine gun look drastically different, but it's still far from looking like the final weapons. There are also sprites for the clip, medikit, and very primitive keycards. There are 9 maps here. Map 6 is a level designed by Tom Hall, which looks incredibly familiar if you've played Doom 2, as it was later recycled for refueling base. Map 10 of the second game. Map 7 looks a lot like E1M4, but you will be eternally stuck there, as there is no exit. Yeah. Map 8 and 9 are quite stubbly, and Map 2 appears to have been recycled as E2M2 later on, as there is a really similar area. And now that we're nearing the end, time for a big one. The Doom press release pre-beta. The connection I have with this version is that it was the most exhausting one to run. It is bundled with a sort of time bomb, and it can't run after October 31st, 1993. Luckily, this version comes with a fake date bundled, to fool the program into thinking it's October 31st. Unluckily, it didn't work for me. So for now, I'm gonna use the footage from the YouTube videos and media from the cutting room floor. And if anybody finds a way to compile the files for me to easily load it up in DOSbox, I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, this version is much closer to the final release, but lacks complete sound effects. In a tour video to its offices to watch John Romero play, you could hear that every enemy used the Wolfenstein SS death sound from the SNES, along with Romero providing some sound effects with his mouth. The HUD went through quite some changes, as next to Doomguy's mugshot we can see a life counter, and when picking up items it would change a status bar saying what you picked up. Speaking of items, the health bonuses and armor bonuses are a skull chest, unholy Bible, evil scepter, and a demonic dagger. The weapon sprites in this build also look more extended, seeing more of Kevin Cloud's arm. There is also the plasma rifle, which looks dumb. It just looks dumb. There is also a rather gnarly death animation of a marine getting ripped in half. Apparently it's a remnant of what was to happen to Buddy Dakoti in the Doom Bible, the design document Tom Hall created for Doom. The fan favorite texture Big Door 2 resembles the final product, but is riddled with bullet holes. The texture Big Door 6 is present, but the offsets are weird. The sky is really barren, representing generic mountains over a void black sky. However, a portion of this texture was later used in Doom Builder as the preview for the F_Sky1 flat. God mode does not change everything to an ugly inverted color like we're used to, but only changes the status bar face, and invisibility uses the ugly inverted color. There are also some unused graphics of some cool looking dunes with clouds and lightning bolts. These would look weird in game due to the game's sky perspective. The intermission screen is also different. It has the kills, items and secrets counter, with the addition of a bonus counter and a score counter. There are a ton of animated computer screens, but just 2 frames. There is also a variation of the Pipe 6 texture, but with a hole in the corner. There is a marble wall texture adorned with lines and skulls, step patches would appear to be windows with lights, Tech Y textures apparently to be used around doors, a very early flat 22, a crooked icon of sin, unused plasma balls and explosions, one of which would later be used by the Arachnotron. These can be seen as the projectiles of the very early and weird BFG. There are also 2 textures that are set to go on the bottom right corner of the intermission screen because the outlines there perfectly match the texture. These textures are simply a box and a bank wherein the level names are placed. And the end of this project. That's all regarding the history of the prototypes, demos, and betas of Doom. Consider subscribing if you want to see more, and thank you for watching. Rip and tear, everyone.